Well, Merry Christmas, friends. I'm Pastor Tom Arthur. Merry COVID Christmas.
A Merry COVID Christmas to you. Yep.
I'm here with my co-host, Aaron Wassing. No, Aaron Umstead.
I wish. I'll take it.
You're looking really festive this morning, Aaron.
I am. I'm
really
so goth. I'm
for
dead.
The occasion.
I'm so goth. I'm dead.
Merry Goth Christmas.
Merry Goth Christmas in the Valley.
This isn't a mountaintop Christmas. It's like a valley Christmas. And so we're starting a new series today called God With Us, episode 1 in the Valley. We'd love for you to like, to share, subscribe, share this out with your friends, because there's a lot of people who are in the valley right now who need to know and experience that God is with us. So share this video out. Give us a shout out if you are there. One of the teens in our church, her parents actually sent me the video of the whole high school virtual choir doing this amazing song from Dear Evan Hansen, You Will Be Found.
Yes.
And so, Aaron, you're a high school English teacher at Holt High School.
Yes.
So these are a lot of your students.
Oh, it made me, so without warning, the choir teacher sent this out, and I was raised with boys. I'm not too weepy, but this one got me. So.
Get ready to be misty-eyed and tearful as you watch this. And we'd love for you to comment in the comment section right now. Were you ever in a choir, a church choir, school choir, whatever? But here we go. Get ready to cry.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. 'Cause maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. And when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And oh, someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need friends to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you rise again. Lift your head and look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. There's a place where we don't have to fear unknown. And every time that you close eyes, you're a little less alone. If you only say the word, across the silence, your voice is heard. Oh, someone will come running. Oh, take you home. When you friends carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming, 'cause you'll reach up and rise again, and you won't be alone. Even when the darkness crashes through, when you need a friend to carry you, so when you're broken on the
Wow,
I've
wow,
got some
wow.
man tears going on right
Yeah,
now.
I love your man tears, Tom. So good.
No, seriously.
I believe you. And I never joke about man tears.
I saw that this video. Amazing. Like, what's the name of the teacher?
Seth Burke and his beautiful wife. They're both.
Wow.
She does the junior
Wow.
high. He does the high school.
Yeah, they did an
Yeah.
amazing job on that. So that I saw that, and the message this Christmas, I think, is that, you know, wherever you're at in the valley, you will be found by God. You will be found. So I'm thinking, like, you know what? When you ask that question, were you ever in a choir? I actually don't really like choir music.
We cannot be friends anymore.
Well, I really like classical choir music. I listened to a lot of bad church classical choir music growing
Grew
up.
up on it.
But I was in elementary choir. I was in a church kids choir. Were you ever in a choir?
No.
No.
I
play the radio.
I was in the Holt choirs. What Holt choirs?
Oh, yeah.
Not with Seth, but with Monty Bishop, who is just fantastic.
Yeah.
We have so many comments on Facebook, people talking about being in choir. Sarah Ashman says she was a proud choir geek all through middle school and high school. Dave Hemingway said they let me be in church youth choir. I thought that was pretty good.
They have to let
They
you
have
in
to.
church.
Yes, they do.
My
So
mom, a music director, would disagree with that.
Mark Raymond, a man after my own heart, said so many choirs.
So many choirs. Well, hey, we would love to connect with you today. Aaron, tell people how they can connect with us.
Oh my goodness. We are a church that wants to connect with you, and we want you to connect with your wider circle. So go ahead, you can comment and share out this video. That's the first way you can do it. Easy peasy. Second way you can do it is fill out that connection card online right there at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. So if you do one thing today, that's what you're going to want to do, is connect with us. I'm super excited about this.
This is really fun.
Yeah, my heart is for donating and volunteering, and it's kind of hard right now. And so thank you for making this easy for us. So the first 20 of you, brand new humans, we know you're out there, go ahead and fill out that connection card online, and Sycamore Creek will donate $20 for the first 20 new people to 4 different nonprofits of your choice. So that's super exciting. And I love that. Love that for this season. Love that in general. Fantastic. All righty. So we're just moving right along here. So you've shared it out. You've done that connection card, or you will. And then I'm just super excited because if you check in and do all of that, for our first time humans, we also have a book for you from Max Lucado. And it's You Will Get Through This. And this book is amazing. The
Somebody
series
out there
is amazing.
who's watching right now needs that book to
Yeah,
get through Christmas.
I think quite a few people need this book. And I've gotten some good feedback for people that you've sent that. And it'll come right to your home, contact free. You could also do a church selfie of the week. And we're going to make these a little bit more focused. They're going to festive, focused on festivity. And you can take a selfie of the week in front of your holiday decorations.
Yes, please. We'd love to see your decorations in your living room. So take a picture, selfie in front of your decorations, tag it SCCMI. Speaking of decorations in your living room, our families across all of our campuses, and we tried to take some family photos. Do you guys do a Christmas postcard or something that you send out?
My cats say that their agents won't allow it.
So to get us ready for our Christmas Eve services, we put this little advertisement together. Here it is. Hey, Sarah, what's the look we're going for here? Is it ugly sweater?
How about a minion?
No, sweetheart, it's a Christmas photo shoot.
How about nice sweater with Christmas hoodie?
I want to be Abraham Lincoln.
No. Classic green and red. Or how about red with the bow tie?
How about a cheetah?
No.
So, what's our plan for getting a photo?
I'm thinking lots of snacks.
I was thinking clear expectations.
All right, babe. Remember, we've still gotta get our Christmas photo taken.
Oh yeah, I'll go get the camera.
Oh my gosh, your kids are driving me crazy.
Where's Micah at?
Where's Sam?
So, you guys, we'd like you to smile for the camera and not look like you're being murdered.
And maybe when we're done, there will be snacks.
Hey, beautiful. Let's toast. Let's toast the moment.
Where are the kids now?
So, everyone, smile and say clear expectations. 3, 2, 1. Clear expectations!
Snacks!
All right, baby. It's ready.
Okay. All right, just smile at that
Yeah.
camera. Okay.
Why wouldn't they be serious? We had a blast putting that together, but that's for every family that, we get these postcards in the mail from other families and they look picture perfect. And then you're like, well, what was it really like behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Taking those
Yeah.
pictures, which is what Christmas is like this year. Of course, usually we're celebrating Christmas in bars and pubs and diners and churches. We do it on Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
Eve. When you're ready to celebrate Christmas, we're ready to celebrate it with you. But this year is different. It's more like what you saw in the family photo shoot. And our Christmas Eve services this year are going to be on Christmas Eve at 5 and 7 p.m. premiere. And then we're going to do a very, very brief, I emphasize brief, outdoor service at 9 o'clock for those of you who want to get together and sing Silent Night outside in the freezing cold and
Sounds good.
try to keep a candle lit in the wind. All right. So mark your calendars at 5 and 7 p.m. By the way, that advertisement video is on YouTube, so you can share that out and invite your friends and family to join us for a Christmas service.
And pray for Sarah.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
My favorite was actually Jana Opperly.
That was
Oh,
clear
yes, yeah.
expectations.
Clear
That's
expectations.
so Jana.
Snacks. All right. So this is a Merry COVID Christmas, and we've asked different poets that we know to create unique and original poems, kind of lamenting or wrestling with what Christmas is going to be like. So one poet that we've gotten to know over the years is Julia Rudliff. She's a senior at MSU. She's actually an engineering student, but she's also a poet. Isn't that cool? I love like all engineering students should also be poets. So here's Julia Rudliff with an original poem, COVID Christmas.
Hi everyone, my name is Julia, and it is currently Thanksgiving Day, and I'm celebrating in front of this gorgeous waterfall in Shenandoah National Park. But I have a poem to read about Christmas. This is called Christmas COVID Blues. I know we all wish it didn't have to be this way. We all have those thoughts. I wish I was there, or I want to be with them, or I wish I was somewhere else. In a different time, in a different place, maybe even in a different world altogether. I understand the overwhelming feeling of drowning in dissatisfaction, the inability to escape from under everything that is so obviously wrong with the world right now, but today, this month, for however long you wish to celebrate. I dare you to bask in the warmth of gratitude, bask in the joy of the moment every day, every season, but especially now, during Christmas, when we all have so much nostalgia for what should have been, so much joy to look back on in the past. It is hard to see anything bright ahead, but remember, Christmas is not only about the festivities and the holiday, the white elephant, the card games, the meals, and the gathering I know we all miss so much. It's about sharing joy, appreciating family, and celebrating your faith, and remembering what's most important to you. The present is a gift you do not have to be anywhere to accept. Find joy in being together in a moment rather than in a room. Remember that the space we have built around us, the family, the joy, the connections are more powerful and beautiful than any place we could ever go to. So whether you're celebrating from the living room, through Zoom, or in front of a waterfall in a tent like me, know that you are not alone, and that Christmas has no time or place beyond the date on the calendar. Everything that is essential to Christmas is not confined to any address, but is shared in experience. And that is what makes the holiday season so special, even in 2020. Thank you, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Give it up for Julia. That was awesome. I love this phrase, the overwhelming feeling of drowning in dissatisfaction. The overwhelming, that a lot of us are experiencing that right now with Christmas, or we're anticipating experiencing that. So thank you, Julia, for writing that original poem with us. God is with us even in the midst of the overwhelming feeling of drowning in dissatisfaction.
Well, that Christmas isn't tied to a space or a date except the one on the calendar. That line really, if I'd been in person, I'd yell, rewind.
Rewind, rewind. All right. Well, hey, we are to today's message, episode 1 of God with us in the Valley. Watch and listen.
On the mountain, in the valley, in the crowded streets, or the empty desert, in our hope and in our waiting, we are never alone. God is with us.
Today we start a new series of messages or episodes called God with Us. For those of us who are followers of Christ, it's so easy to believe that God is with us when things are good. When you're on the mountaintop, it's easy to believe that God is with us. And that's my family on top of a mountain in the Smoky Mountains. The mountaintops are amazing. And whenever you get really good news, when you get a raise, when you get a baby that sleeps through the night for the first time, even something as simple as when you get a parking spot and it's so close to the building, God is so good. It's easy to sense the presence of God when things are going well and when you're on top of the mountain. I'm going to give you a moment to reflect on that goodness of God and the mountaintop moments with this question. What experiences with mountaintops have you had? Let's chat.
To understand this mountaintop experience I'm going to share, you have to know that when you know the love languages. Are you familiar with those? The 5 love languages. Yep. When I take those tests online, the giving and receiving gifts is a big fat 0. So I don't like giving gifts. I don't really like receiving them, usually because I think like oh man, what am I going to do with this piece of junk that somebody gave me? And but this past week over Thanksgiving, we were on vacation, and I had a mountaintop experience with my son, who I gave him a gift that he absolutely loved. We got this like ping pong net that stretches across any table and turns it into a ping pong table. So we turned our living room, dining room table into a ping pong table. And we just had all kinds of hours of fun.
Game face, Sarah.
Sarah has got her game face on there.
Love it.
Just having a blast. And it is, when you do give a gift and it really connects, that it was a mountaintop experience for us. Yeah, it was fun for me.
This is helping me think about it because I was flipping back through mountaintop experiences, and they usually were with people in places where we were collectively, learning about God and worshiping God. So I'm kind of processing that, and I'm like,
a spiritual mountaintop.
Yeah,
experience.
usually, and I'm like, this is COVID, so I'm kind of rethinking.
I kind of feel like I'm at that point in my life where I don't really remember the mountaintop experiences. So for me, it's like, my kids said yes the first time I asked them to clean up. Woo! Or like, I finished doing the church conference forms on time. Yeah! Like, stuff like that makes me excited. We got some great answers.
Our bar gets lowered during
it totally
pandemic.
does. So we got people talking about getting green lights on the way to work, finding close parking spaces. Marilyn Menino says her husband always finds the close parking spaces. Tara Streeter said the most beautiful one, her wedding day.
That's nice.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think mine was when I taught Talia to ride her bike, and I was running alongside her with her two wheels for the first time, and she just took off down the street, and she had it. And we rode our bike just to the bus stop every day that week. That was last year, and gosh, what a feeling! And now I'm doing it with Dean, so it's like I'm back on that spot.
That is awesome. Yeah. So these experiences of being on the mountaintop, it's easy to know that God is with you in those. But what about when they're in the valley? Let's go back to Pastor Mark.
My name is Mark, and I'm the pastor of Sycamore Creek in Potterville. Mountaintop moments are great, but it's sometimes more difficult to sense God's presence when you're in the valley. That's my family hiking in the dark in the middle of the night. It was a valley of sorts because we couldn't see anything around us, and it was quite an adrenaline rush. When things aren't going the way that you want them to, when you get bad news, when you're hurting, maybe when you feel alone, when you're worried, when you're afraid, or when you're battling depression, those are the valleys of life. And there are a lot of valleys in life. Today, as we launch into this message series, God with Us, about the presence of God, I want to start with a verse that we'll start out with every single week in this series. We're heading toward and preparing ourselves for Christmas. And our Christmas Eve service we'll deal with this verse in greater detail. Our verse is found in Matthew's Gospel in Matthew 1, verse 23. This is what the scripture says. Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. I invite you to read the second half of that verse with me, starting with the and. Are you ready? And they will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. Great job. I want to talk today about God being with us in the valleys. Often, a lot of your life can be going really well. We'll have all these different pockets of life where we're on a mountaintop. And then there's this one area. You know what I'm talking about? And this is one area that weighs everything else down. So much of life can be good, but this one thing brings a serious weight to our lives. I've been walking a lot with Jana throughout the pandemic. I love walking with Jana, my wife. I love being outside. Jana is my favorite person, and I love to spend time with her. We've established a nightly tradition during the pandemic that restores my mind, my body, my soul. And that tradition has been wonderful throughout the uncertainty and the difficulty of the pandemic. In early April, we had just finished our walk and the endorphins were flowing. I felt fabulous. I was looking forward to dinner here in our dining room with my family after our walk. And then my mom called at a time of the day when my mom rarely calls. And I said to Jana, I should probably take this call. I answered the phone and my heart sank when my mom said, Grandma just died. Let me give you a little context. My grandmother had dementia. She had also recovered from being quite sick earlier in the year, and she was now home with my grandfather. My grandma has been a huge part of my life, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up. And then one day earlier this April, she just died. And several days later, just after Easter, my immediate family gathered for a COVID-sized funeral service. I'd like to share with you a couple things I said during that service that help explain the valley that I experienced going through her death. As I thought about memories of my grandma, I struggled a bit with memories that were specific to my grandma and didn't involve my grandpa. Probably because so many of my memories are intertwined with my grandpa and my grandma together. I guess is what happens when a loving couple is married for over 70 years. I finally settled on a place for memories, though, of my grandma. And it's my grandma's kitchen. And for me, that will always be the kitchen in their house at 2158 Cambridge Street. More than any other place, Grandma's kitchen is the place that I think of when I think of Grandma. Through Grandma's kitchen, I learned the value of portion control. Like many of you, I loved to eat Grandma's bran muffins. They're so good, especially right out of the oven, they're warm, the butter melts on them. And I found that 5, 6, 7 bran muffins might seem like a good idea at the time, but there are consequences. That's a lot of bran. We have a phrase now at our house, natural consequences, and I learned about that phrase at a young age in Grandma's kitchen. I also experienced my grandma's love through meal preparation. I love going to Grandma's kitchen to eat meals around the kitchen table. In case you haven't figured it out yet, I like to eat. I always remember the abundance of Grandma's meals. It was so exciting to have another helping, and maybe if it was mashed potatoes, another helping. I think Grandma liked to watch me eat with enthusiasm, and I felt my grandma's love through eating in her kitchen. And finally, growing up, my grandma loved to cut my hair, and I remember the snip of the scissors, sometimes a little too close to my ears for comfort, and the care, though, with which my grandma cut my hair. Today, as I cut my son Drew's hair, each time as I bend over him, I think about how much I love him. And I remember my grandma bending over my head to cut my hair. I remember that closeness. I remember the love that I felt and the care shown to me through a simple haircut. I'm in the middle of a mountaintop moment with my family. I've been on a walk with my wife. I'm heading inside for dinner with my kids. It's those moments that you live for, moments like this around the table. And then there's the valley. Death comes in and my heart is aching. And some of you are there right now. Some seasons and pockets of your life are good, but others are not. Your marriage might be blessed, but you've got a kid making crazy and stupid decisions. And it hurts. Or you're really close to God and you sense God's presence, but at the same time, you're afraid you're going to lose your job. Or you're really excited about the holidays and finding ways to get together and see people, but you just got some really bad medical news about you or about somebody else. There can be so many good things, and yet there can be one or two things that take you right down into the valley. So here's another question for you. What valleys are you experiencing in your life right now? Let's discuss.
So I had a similar experience to Mark. My 98-year-old grandmother died about, I think, 4 weeks ago now. she didn't have dementia, but she was old and her memory was going. But that really was a celebration. I mean, she was ready to go and be with the Lord. And I was asked to lead her funeral. So I drove down to Indianapolis to lead her funeral. And then one of my family members at the funeral, who was at the funeral, ended up testing positive for COVID. So I had to quarantine for 14 days after getting back from that. And part of that quarantine was over Thanksgiving break and my vacation, which I was taking. And for a moment there, I was also got some very mild symptoms, ended up having 2 COVID tests. Both of them came back negative. So I don't think I ever had COVID, but in the middle of it, you don't know whether you do or not. And for a moment, I thought I was going to have to quarantine in my bedroom from my family during Thanksgiving, on vacation, over my wife and my son's birthday. And I was in a pretty deep valley in that moment. Now, thankfully, it didn't last very long because my doctor said, no, you don't have to do that. But, sometimes our valleys don't ever turn out. We just hallucinate the worst situation.
I make pretty bad valleys for myself, too.
Yeah, we do, anticipating them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get a lot of my value as a human through my job. I'm a teacher and I love my job. And I'm not a very good online teacher. My sweet baby kids tell me I am, but I'm just like, I don't see it. So I'm really struggling to teach online. That's my valley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We made this silly family video that partly imitated Sarah and I were the kids in our house and our kids were the parents. And we imitated our kids on school or at school. And we sent it to their teachers because we were like, you guys need to laugh about something on the other side of the screen there.
That's true.
We've got lots of people sharing valleys. I'm just impressed by the vulnerability. Bethany Evans is sharing about her health. And Bob Trout actually shared that his mom passed away this morning. So our hearts are with you, Bob. Lots of people talking about how hard this time of year is, not being able to see family and friends and just everything being different. Senior year for some students having to be so different than what they expected.
Yeah, it's a really tough time. It's a season of valleys. Well, hey, let's go back to Pastor Mark and see if we can experience and encounter God with us in the valley. Here we go.
We all have valleys in life. And what I want to talk about today is, where is God in the valley? When you look at Scripture, valleys represent several things. In valleys, they're often the places where battles would take place. So some of you right now, you may be in a battle in the midst of a valley. The valleys represent desperation. Valleys represent loneliness. And it's interesting that valleys are also a place of growth. We may enjoy God in some ways on the mountaintop, but we experience God in different ways when we're in the valley. And in fact, you may want to make note of this in the comments. We may enjoy God on the mountaintops, but we get to know God intimately in the valleys. And we may know God and enjoy God when times are good, but we get to know God in a different way when we're in the valleys. That's because God is with us in the valley. To explore this idea of God with us, we're going to look today at Psalm 84 from the Old Testament. If you've ever read through Psalm 84, chances are you read right past these verses that I'm going to read. And if you stopped at them, you may not have understood them. So today we're going to look at these verses more deeply and hopefully gain some insight that will impact our lives and our relationship with God. So Psalm 84, I'm going to begin with verse 5. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. They go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion. Blessed are those whose strength is in God. As they pass through the valley of Baca, what is the valley of Baca? Well, the valley of Baca was most likely related to a weeping tree. It's a very similar spelling, and this tree would just ooze out sap. If you walked by this tree, people said it was called a weeper. It was like the tree was crying, and that's why the valley of Baca is translated in different ways in Scripture. It's also called the valley of tears. It's also called the valley of weeping. It's also called the valley of loss, the valley of Baca. And anytime you see a valley in the Bible, it's a place that's dangerous. There'd be thorns, there'd be wild animals, there'd be people waiting to jump out at you and rob you. In fact, it was very difficult to get through a valley without something bad happening. Valleys were places of danger, which is why the Psalm says in verse 5, blessed are those whose strength is found in you, God. And maybe you're not a follower of Christ today. And if you're not, welcome. I'm so glad that you are with us today. If you don't know God intimately, then chances are there's times in your life where you've said, I've had enough. I can't take this anymore. I'm overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. I just don't have enough. And the truth is, if you don't know God intimately, then what you have, it's all that you have. What you have is all that you have. But for those who are followers of Christ, we believe that we have a strength that goes beyond just what we have. But we believe we have access to a heavenly strength that the psalmist is pointing us toward. We believe that when we get to the end of our strength, that there's a strength from God that is available to those who know God. We may enjoy God on the mountaintops, but we get to know God intimately in the valleys. Let me give you an example of this from working out. As I'm sure you can tell from my tall, lean figure, it's a little hard to sell sitting down, but I lift weights. Maybe not enough for any of you to tell, but I do lift weights. And someone who's way better at lifting weights than me is my younger brother, Todd. I love lifting with my brother, Todd, because he's encouraging and he's way stronger than me too. I can remember times when we were doing a chest workout together, and toward the end of the workout, we would lift just the bar, nothing else. So the bar is 45 pounds, which is nothing. And you just see how many times you could lift it at the end of a workout. And it looks ridiculous, right? Because it's just a 45-pound bar, and it's hard not to be self-conscious in the gym when you're lifting it. Well, what happens? It's my turn, and I start out, and that bar is just flying up and down. But then the lactic acid starts to build up in your arms and chest, and Todd encourages me.
Come on, bro. This is you. This is all you. Last set. Come on, knock them out. You got this. Come on. You got it, bro. Get it. Get it. Down and up. Down and up. Come on. Good job. Good job. Keep it up, bud. Keep it up. Come on. Get it. Get it. Get it. You got it. You got it. You got it. One more. One more. You got it in you. Let's go. Come on. One more. One more. Yes. Yes. Good job.
And again, this looks ridiculous. Todd's encouraging me, and I start to give out, and he starts to assist me. He's helping with just the bar, and this is ridiculous. But Todd's helping me, and I don't know if he said this, but I can imagine it. It's all you. And the thing is, it's not all me. He's helping me.
You got it in you. Let's go. Come on. Yes. Yes.
Well, then at a certain point, I've got nothing left. I'm lifting the 45 bar up one more time. And at that point, it's not me. It's all Todd. At the end of my strength, Todd took over. The good news for those of us who are Christ followers is there is a power greater than Todd. When you hit the end of your strength, it's God's strength that is made perfect in your weakness. Blessed are those whose strength is found in God. I want to encourage you today that if you're in the middle of a valley right now, you have access to the real, ever-present power of a good God who's available to you and ready to come and assist you in your time of need. Blessed are those whose strength is found in God. The psalmist doesn't say, blessed are those who make it on their own. It doesn't say, blessed are those who pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It doesn't say, blessed are those who are really determined. And one of the big problems in our world is that we idolize a spirit of independence. I don't want to need anybody. I want to be financially independent. I want to be completely good on my own. I don't want to have to trust people. I don't want people to have to be there for me. And I don't need God. I don't need anybody. Now, that's a problem because we weren't created to be independent. We were created by God to depend on God and to depend on others. Blessed are you when you realize that you are dependent and you are dependent on a power greater than yourself. We need to lean into this today. We need to just admit it. I don't have what it takes. On my own, I'm not enough. I need God's presence. Blessed are those whose strength is found in God. Now, there are other ways to translate our passage today, and I love the way the New Living Translation highlights this verse. It says this, what joy for those whose strength comes from the Lord, who have set their minds on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. I love that. We're on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. What does that mean? We may be in the valley, but we're going to what was known as the city of refuge. We are going into a place that they call the place of peace. One commentary said this, it said, to get to the city of refuge, you need to travel through the valley of tears. I like that imagery. Sometimes you get to where you really appreciate the presence and the power of God. And in order to get there, you have to push through a little bit of pain to get to the presence of the goodness of God. For so many of us, the valley is the pathway to the place of peace. We push through the valley. We're on a pilgrimage. And this is the way the psalmist says it. What joy for those whose strength comes from the Lord, who have their minds set on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. I say it out loud. I type it in the comments. My mind is set. My mind is set. Blessed are those who have their minds set toward God. What you think about matters a lot. Paul talked about this in the New Testament many times, as we just read in our challenge. To the Colossian believers, he said, set your mind on things above, not on things below. Paul told the Philippian believers, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy or admirable or lovely, think about such things. Where you are is one thing, but what you think about is something else. What you think about matters. My wife, Jana, who I mentioned, is a licensed psychologist with a PhD in school psychology, and she's a fan of cognitive behavioral therapy, which asserts that faulty thinking, which is cognition, and faulty behavior are linked. We all struggle with a faulty way of thinking called a cognitive distortion. If you've ever had trouble sleeping and you tell yourself, I can't sleep and I'll never fall asleep, you're on your way toward a cognitive distortion. And you continue toward thinking, why am I such a bad sleeper? I'm going to be tired tomorrow. I'll be so cranky. I'll be horrible to everybody around me. I'll be unproductive. And because I can't sleep, I'm going to lose my job. My life will fall apart, and on and on and on. You see the distortion here. It starts with I'll never sleep. And it can go dark real quick. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, you learn to recognize your distortions in thinking that are creating problems, and then to reevaluate them in the light of reality. Now, when we live our lives and behave based on lies, it leads to dysfunction. Healthy functioning is grounded in the truth of who we are and what situations we are facing. What you think about matters. It matters. And now your current situation may be in a valley, but your mind can be set upon God. Your heart might be racing, but your mind can be set. Your soul might be aching, but your mind can be set. Your emotions may be filled with pain, but your mind can be set on God. There may be too much to do. There may be pressure with your in-laws. You may be wondering what exactly Christmas will look like this year, and on and on and on. There can and will be real tragedies in the valley. But my mind can remain on the goodness of God. God is with me. God is for me. I love this phrase from verse 6. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. As they pass through. In other words, we may be in a valley right now, but the valley is not our destination. What are we doing? I'm just passing through. I may be in the valley right now, but this is not my home. I'm journeying toward a place of peace. I am just passing through. God will get me through this. I am just passing through. But David said something similar in Psalm 23. David said, even though I walk, help me out with this, you probably know it. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. God is with me. I may be in the valley, but I'm just passing through. I may be in a difficult time, but God is going to get me through it. I may be hurting right now, but I'm not going to hurt forever. God is going to help pull me through. I may be in a dark place right now, but we're just passing through the valley of Baca. Sometimes when you're in the middle of it, You just want out. Get me out, God. Make it go away. Make it stop, God. I don't want this anymore. Just take it away. I just want out. What I want us to realize is that often God may show us the way through the valley, not out of the valley. The road to peace is often through the valley. I'm just passing through. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. They make it a place of springs. The King James Version says they make it a well. They make it a place of springs. In other words, when you're in a dry place, what do? You dig a well. You make a well. You take and clear a hole as a container for the provision of rain that God will send. Now, God hasn't sent it yet. It's dry right now. But when you're dry, when you're hurting, you make room for the presence of God. You make room for the provision of God. You make a well. But it hasn't rained yet. But I know that God will provide what I need. So I make a container preparing for the presence and the provision of God. You make a well. It's almost as if God is saying to us, show me your faith and I'll show you my faithfulness. If you dig it, I will fill it. If you prepare for me, I will show up. You show me your faith and I will show you my faithfulness. Now, Jesus apparently had this kind of philosophy. In the New Testament, there's a guy who's got a withered hand. And instead of Jesus just saying, I'm going to heal you, Jesus says to him, stretch out your hand and I will heal it. You show me that you believe I can do it, and I will do it. A man who couldn't walk for 38 years, Jesus didn't just say to him, you're healed. Instead, Jesus said to him, take up your mat. Get up, show me you believe that I can make you walk. If you show me your faith, I will show you my faithfulness. When you are in the middle of a valley, if you dig it, God will fill it. If you plant it, God will grow it. You have to plant a seed before you see the harvest. If you pray it, God will hear your prayer. If you dig it, if you prepare, God will reveal God's self. When you're in a dry place, where you're in the valley, make a well. You prepare for the presence and the provision of God. Show me your faith, and I'll show you my faithfulness, says God. God promises again and again and again and again in Scripture, if you draw near to me, I will draw near to you. If you seek me, you will find me. If you make room for me, I will reveal myself to you. Now, if you haven't sensed God's presence in a while, I'm telling you today, it's time to dig a well. It's time to dig a ditch. It's time to say to God, I'm going to stop and wait for your presence. I'm going to prepare for your provision and for your presence, because if you dig it, God will fill it. A lot of life has slowed down during the pandemic. Take advantage of that. God very rarely reveals himself to people who are rushed. Imagine Moses in the burning bush. Imagine Moses driving by at 75 miles an hour, looking at that burning bush and snapping a photo of it with his cell phone. Instagram, that bush is burning. That's not what happened. Moses slowed down and approached. God said, hey, why don't you stay a while? Take off your sandals, because the ground that you're standing on is holy ground. God is saying to you today, be still and know that I am God. Make a well of your life and wait for me to fill it, because if you dig it, I will fill it. If you seek me, you will find me. If you draw near to me, I will draw near to you. Be still and know that I am God. And this is what happened with me when I found out my grandma died. I went to the house and I ate dinner with my family at this table. I told my kids about my grandma and that she had died. And we told stories and we laughed and we cried together. I contacted my friends and I told them about my grandma dying and how much she meant to me. I gathered my people around me. And through those moments of relationship, I dug a well and I asked God to show up. And God did. Just a few days after my grandma died, we celebrated Easter. And I don't know if I've ever celebrated Easter as hard or with as much hope as I did this past year. I mean, I clung to the hope that we have through Jesus and through the resurrection, and God showed up for me, and God comforted me. God gave me peace and hope through Jesus. If you dig it, God will fill it and bring you back to the mountaintop. And one of the ways that we dig a well here at Sycamore Creek for God to show up is through our Christmas offering. Each year, we receive a Christmas offering that goes toward three things: our care ministries, our local missions, and our global missions. It's a way we are God's presence to the world in the valleys of life. And we invite you this year to give generously to that offering and to the ways that we're able to share God's love with people through that offering. And the challenge of this offering is that we invite you to dig a well by giving away as much as you spend on Christmas. As much as you spend on Christmas gifts and parties, give that much away this year to help others. That's digging a well for the presence of God to show up in your life this Christmas, in the life of someone else. And we dig a well even in the midst of the pandemic because we may enjoy God on the mountaintops, but we get to know God intimately in the valleys. God promises us that we will never have to go through the valley alone. Here's our reminder. Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. God is with us. As we go through the valley, God is with us, and we're going to a place of peace. God is with us. And that means that we go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion. Yes, God with us. And when we have God's strength, not our strength, it is in the valleys that we sense God's strength in a way that we don't otherwise. When we totally and completely need God, we have nothing else going for us. We have God's presence and we have God's strength. God with us. Here's a final question for you to ponder. Where have you encountered God in the valley? Let's chat about that question, and may we encounter God in our valleys. Amen.
In 2018, I had a horrible year. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. I lost two parents. I was on sabbatical that summer. It's not how I wanted to plan or sort of experience a sabbatical. But the night or the morning that I woke up ready to go back to work from that sabbatical, that also happened to be the day that my dad died that evening. I had a dream, and it was a dream of a white wolf in the midst of a bunch of dark wolves, and they were attacking this white wolf. And then all of a sudden, just as I was waking up, the white wolf just walked away unhurt. And I actually crowdsourced the dream interpretation. I put it out. I'm not usually like this. I'm not usually like, oh, God is speaking to me through my dreams. But it was such a vivid dream that I shared it out on Facebook. I said, hey, people, what do you think this means? And I'm still not quite sure what the interpretation of that dream is. I still keep going back and thinking about it. But whatever the interpretation of it was, I took it as God speaking to me and giving me hope and encouragement that in the midst of this challenging year, this year of valleys, that I could walk away from it. And be ready to get back to ministry and back to church. That was a moment where God met me in the valley.
I remember when you outsourced that. I thought that was really cool. God is all over, and he shows up in the voices of my students. I said that my valley is not being a good teacher right now, and that's so important to me, and my kids show up right when I need them and shock me. So thank you, God.
God speaks to you through your kids, through your students. Yeah.
When I was 12 years old, my grandma passed away, and I was very, very close to her. And I remember being really mad at God for a really long time. And it was that experience is where God taught me that sometimes when he answers our prayers, he doesn't answer them the way that we think. Because I had been praying that God would make her feel better. And she does feel better because she's with him. There's so many great comments in the comment section. Bethany Evans sharing about her son having an accident and God showed up. Doctor said he shouldn't be here at all, but God covered him. It's a true miracle. And Tara Streeter sharing about being in the height of her fear in April, and God was very near to her. So lots of people experienced God in the valley.
Yeah.
I feel like God shows up in the valley in my life over and over and over again in the form of my community and in the form of especially the people in my life who are people of faith. When Talia was born, the church I was a part of rallied around me as a single mom, and they were my family. I can't count how many receiving blankets I got, I had an abundance of materials and clothes for her that I never would have thought. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Definitely there's a way that we manifest God's presence to each other in the valley. Let's take a moment. I don't know what valley you are in, but I'd like to take a moment and pray for you, whatever that valley is, that you would encounter God in the valley this Christmas. Good and gracious God, you came out of the mountaintop of heaven at Christmas to be with us in the valley of flesh and blood. And it's in this time of celebrating Christmas and Christmas in the midst of a pandemic when we all feel like we're in a valley. God, I don't know what the valleys are exactly of the people who are here with us today, but I do know that you are with us in the valley. Give to those people, give to all of us a sense of your presence with us in the midst of that valley, that we might know that we can go on tomorrow. And that this valley too will be passed. We will pass through the valley. Give us that hope. Give us that grace. Give us that mercy. In the name of Jesus and in the power of your Spirit, and all who agreed, said, or typed, or tweeted, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, hey, we would love to connect with you this week, and we've got lots of ways to do that. Let's see. Here they are.
God is with us, and God be with you. Be with us and join us this morning by filling out our connection card at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. You're a first-time guest. Let us send you a free book, You'll Get Through This by Max Lucado. All you got to do is fill out a connection card. It's time to fess up. You still have some hoarded toilet paper, don't you? Why not donate it to a neighbor in need at the Compassion Closet? To help with social distancing, bring your bleach, bar soap, paper towels, and deodorant to Greater Harvest New Testament Church. Call ahead Tuesday and Wednesday between 10 and 2. Type in SCCMI in your app store to connect with us through Sycamore Creek's app. You can give through that app, listen to sermons online, read your Bible, and fill out the connection card, all right from your phone. Not interested in the app but still want to give online? Head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/give and you'll have options there too. It's almost Jesus' birthday. Celebrate Christmas with us differently at Sycamore Creek Church by committing to our annual Christmas offering challenge. We challenge you to bring the joy of Christ to people who are suffering by giving away as much as you spend on Christmas. This is the part where I throw out some astronomical number that adds to the $32,000 that were given last year, that we're giving all the way. Not this time, friends. We want to see how God moves you this Christmas. Give away as much as you spend, and let's see what God will do. This Thanksgiving, we all moved on over to Kingdom Life Church's virtual worship to celebrate with them. Thank you, friends, for your generous giving that allows us to close our doors and celebrate with another church in our community. We're turning 20 in 2020. Here's our 2020 challenge. We'll donate $20 to a charity for the first 20 people to fill out a connection card. Say that 20 times fast while you're filling out that connection card and choose a charity on the list for us to donate $20 to. Thanks to your giving, we're celebrating the 6th annual Run Walk for Pie and the donations of the little free libraries to follow. Check that out as we head back to the studio. Peace out, Sycamore.
And Aaron, I feel humbled by all of the amazing things that people in our church are doing. One of them was this Pie Run Walk to collect books for kids and to set up little free libraries at both of our campuses. You'll see the Wassingers piling up all those books. And there's Dave Wassinger setting up the little free library at our Potterville campus. There's one going up here at our South Lansing campus very soon. The COVID kept them from doing the run face-to-face, but we did do it virtually, and we raised all kinds of money. Here's the Wassingers thanking you and telling you what happened.
Hey peeps! So on the Run for Pie money donation for the Run for Pie for books, we have raised about $700. There's still gonna be money coming in, and $700 is like more than we could have wished for. And it's standing! Woo!
And Louisa, hey, how many books did we collect so far?
We collected so far 411 books.
411 books. That is incredible.
But more to come.
More are coming. We have some word that more are coming. And isn't that incredible? What do we say, guys?
Thank you for all your great donations. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's awesome.
All those books bring a tear to my eye.
Oh yeah.
The English teacher, yeah, we're gonna have a little library out in front of our campus here shortly. So thank you, Wassingers. Thank you, everybody who donated to that. Super excited. Hey, it's Christmas time. We need to end with a Christmas carol. I think we'd love to hear in the comments section what's your favorite Christmas carol. And our band put together this beautiful little piece, Realms of Glory, Emmanuel. So watch and listen.
Angels from the realms of glory, bring your light o'er all the earth. You sang creation's story, now proclaim Messiah's birth. Come and worship, worship Christ the newborn King. Shepherds in your fields abiding, watching o'er your flocks at night. God with man is now presiding, yonder shines the infant light. Come and worship, worship Christ the newborn King. Emmanuel, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Emmanuel, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Whoa, 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 Come and worship Christ, newborn King. God is with us, even now His love we sing. Come and worship Christ, the newborn King. God is with us, even now His love we sing. His love is here. Emmanuel, Emmanuel. am all my praises. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Emmanuel,
All right.
Aaron, that's something I especially miss this time of the year is our band singing Christmas carols with us. You know, I'm going to go with, for a favorite Christmas carol, Sarah McLachlan's version of War is Over. I love that. Yes.
Good one. It's a toss-up. It's either Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer or The Little Drummer Girl.
Yeah, that's the one, right?
Yep, that's the name.
We're doing Little Drummer Girl for Christmas Eve.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. North of 5 is doing
Mine
that
is Silent Night, Stille Nacht. My family is German, and we sing it in German together every year, usually. We'll see what happens this year. But, you know, when I think about Christmas songs that aren't necessarily carols that are my favorite, Reliant K's It's Always Winter But Never Christmas is really close to my heart.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I like the song Sleigh Ride, and it brings a special memory, which is that when I was growing up, I was always in band, and there's a special version for band by Leroy Anderson. It was my mom's favorite, and one year we didn't play it, and my mom called the band director and yelled at him. She was super upset because that's her favorite. Lots of people are saying Silent Night, Oh Holy Night, Angels We Have Heard on High, O Come Emmanuel. We've got lots of great answers on here.
Good stuff. We're going to be doing Christmas carols over the next several weeks. Karaoke Christmas carols, people from our band. So
what could go
hang
wrong?
in. Next week, by the way, we continue this series with episode 2 of God With Us. God with us in the wilderness. It's a great message. You know somebody who needs to know that God is with them this Christmas, whatever wilderness valley they're going through. So be sure to share that out and invite somebody to join us next week. Until then, friends, Merry Christmas and peace out.